with a little bit of a change of plans here. We originally had Dwayne de Rosario to come on today, and he could not make it. But we weren't sure what we wanted to do, but it was kind of good timing because one of our very good friends and our brand ambassador, our sports ambassador, you sure we are live on our page? Are we not live?
Just checks to make sure. I didn't see it.
Oh, I'm pretty sure we are. Yeah, we are.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Told you.
This was good timing because I actually posted something yesterday on our page, and on my page at least, that Jamie has started a new program, which kind of good timing for this. We were having a little bit of a conversation before we started our live talking about how it's so important to elevate your spirits and elevate. We like that word here. So I thought this was just kind of good timing. I think it's really important, don't you, Jamie, that people start infusing their brains with something really inspirational and positive?
1000%. I think that it's what we're finding right now is everybody was sort of like, okay, we're going to do this. And now what everyone's finding is that their brains are going in a million different directions. They're frustrated, they're confused, they're angry, and they just don't know how to cope. And that's what I'm finding. I've got a lot of reach outs and people that are saying like, how are you dealing with this? Because I'm staying positive. So that's why I felt that it was necessary that I give back in some way I can, and to offer a 4-week program of just giving perspective and tools for people on how to get through this. And this is what we call, it's called a dark night, but we also have other dark nights in our life. And if we all think about times that we've had in our lives, whether it was, you know, someone's left you, you've gone through a divorce, or you've lost a family member, or you got a diagnosis, those are also dark nights. So not only is this a great program for today, what we're going through, but it's also for the future when people go through another dark night.
Yeah, and you and I have known each other a long time. We've been through a few dark nights together.
Yeah.
So yeah, people don't know. I've known Jamie. Gosh, how long have we known each other, Jamie? Since 2000.
Well, it would have been at least 12 years now. It would be 12 years. Yep.
Yeah, it was an interesting time in, I think, both of our lives. We've gone through a lot of growth, but I think the one thing that we've really aligned on is the importance of mindset, right?
100%. Yep. Mindset is everything. If we have a healthy mind, then think about your mind, where your mind goes, your body follows, right? So if our mind is healthy, then our body feels better to go in and actually take action, and it changes your physiology. So if you're thinking about fear right now and how scary this is and how you don't know what this is going to look like, and you're thinking about all the bad in this, it changes your physiology. You might feel depressed, you might feel lethargic, you might feel pain in your body. We talked about that. It makes people ill. So I'm choosing to think about all the good that I have in my life today, even though I'm in somewhat of a lockdown, but I'm thinking about the good that I've got and the good that is going to come from this potentially. I'm choosing to find the gift in this. And it's not necessarily right in front of me right now. I have my not so good days. I will never say a bad day. I've lost family members to cancer and other diseases. So that's a bad day for me. I'm struggling today, or I'm having a tough day, is what I choose to say. And that's just because that's normal. We're humans and we have feelings, right? So what are you going to do about those feelings? Well, you're going to go back to the things that make you happy. Writing for me makes me happy. Concentrating on gratitude, reaching out to somebody who's positive and not sitting in that stinking thinking, right?
I love that you said that. I love that you said that it's a choice, because it really is a choice. You're deciding that choosing to focus on negative things is a choice, and you can just as easily choose to think about something different. And the fact that there is no success without stress. Listen. Right? If I want my muscles to grow, I've got to put them under stress. I'm growing seedlings. They have to push through out of the shell. Then they have to push through out of the soil. There is no success without stress. There's no enjoyment of a sunny day without the rain. And I mean, I don't want to sound, too wah-wah, with it, but that is a fact of life. It's the truth.
Yes. And you know what? And I'm not dismissing the fact that some people are in really, really uncomfortable, undesirable conditions right now. I'm not at all. Because everybody, it's kind of like pain. you know, the pain tolerance is different for everybody. So there are people who are going to potentially lose their house, or they don't know how they're going to put food on the table, but if they are able to find some positivity in this somewhere, that is a win, right? Like they will get through this okay. But there are also people I know that have everything, right? They've got a pool in their basement or outside, and they're living somewhere, and they've got an amazing backyard, and they're sitting there going, I can't believe that we're in this. What am I going to do? Complete victim state. And I just feel like that's not where we want to go with that, right?
Yeah.
It's not a positive way of thinking. And I 100%, my point to this is that it is a choice. You can choose, no matter what condition you're in right now, to choose to see the good. And that's really the only way. Helen, you know about all these motivational speakers, all these life coaches, they always talk about gratitude. When you come from gratitude, it puts you on a different frequency.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I love that, because I've said this probably on every one of my lives, and I'm going to open it up and read a bit of this, because I think this is something that I posted on Facebook. When I first got on Facebook, it was called Notes back in the day. Yes, we're aging ourselves now. But I love that it's Jim Rohn. I'm only going to read a bit of it because I love this, and I think it's so relevant. Any day we wish, we can discipline ourselves to change it all. Any day we wish, we can open the book that will open our mind to new knowledge. Any day we wish, we can start a new activity. Any day we wish, we can start the process of light change. We can do it immediately, or next week, or next month, or next year. And then he also has something later where he says, if we don't do it, we basically curse the effect, but we don't change the cause. And I just think that it's so important that, I know when I went through my struggles in life, and it's out there for anybody that wants to hear it. It's on my TEDx talk. I talk a lot about, what I went through. And I remember reading a book, and the one thing it did tell me was, find one thing that makes you happy and do it. And I think that we don't always have to make it this massive change, and we have to change the world to be better, or do something big, especially in these times where we are in these moments. I feel like it could be as simple as, I have a book that I know makes me feel better, and it, like, taking that time to, 20 minutes, whatever it is. Or if I have a cup of tea that I really enjoy having, I just feel like there are these little, I call it destination happy, like you make your destination happy, find those moments, those simple moments that make you happy, and just do them, and do one. And then you'll find that snowballs, and that becomes bigger and bigger. Like, haven't you found that in life as well, Jamie? Like that when you start doing one thing that makes you happy, that it snowballs into something bigger?
You thrive. That's what we talk about all the time with my clients is they often they're doing things, and what they realize very quickly is that they're living their life based on their conditions instead of deciding for the things that they absolutely love, which is scary for a lot of people, because they think they first come into the sessions with, well, I can't do that because, I can't do this because, I can't do this because. And as soon as they change their mindset, right, with a different way of thinking, that is actually possible, and you can have that, because we live in an abundant universe, and everybody's got the ability to do whatever they want, like to the degree that they can, right? As soon as they change their mindset, they start thinking about possibilities and opportunities, and it just completely changes their world. And now they're doing what they absolutely love, and they're going, well, what have I waited for? Right? Like this is incredible. And it's not like it shows up right away necessarily. You and I both know, and Mike, I'm sure you've had this in your life too, but for me with skating, when I decided for it at 8 years old, it took 20 years to get to my ultimate dream. But there are other things recently for me with my goals and my vision, that things have shown up in weeks, right? And some things will take 4 years or whatever. But the minute you decide for something and it's based on what you would love, right, Helen, that makes you happy, like a whole new world starts to show up. And that's what I've experienced when I was 8, and what I'm experiencing again at 42.
You know what it is? I think that people are addicted to wanting to know the outcome, the final outcome.
You got to detach from the outcome.
Right. When you focus on fear, you know what the outcome is. So it's easy to focus on that because I know what that outcome is. So I focus on it.
Yeah.
And if you just divorce yourself from the idea of knowing what the end result will be and only focus on the next step forward, then the next step forward appears, and the next step forward appears, and the next step forward appears. And you end up getting what it is that you want. Again, whether it takes weeks or whether it takes years, because both those things happen. But, you know, something I always like to say is, you know, 10 years, 20 years, it's coming. You know, if we're lucky, right? It's coming whether we want it to or not.
Yeah.
And so 10 years, 20 years can come and we can have what we want and be doing what we love, or it can come and we can just still have regret.
Prince EA has a great video on YouTube. Everybody dies, but not everybody lives. Highly suggest watching it today.
Absolutely.
Right? These older people were interviewed on their deathbeds, and they said the only regrets they had weren't necessarily the things that they did do. It was the things they didn't do. Don't have regrets of that, right? I'd rather do something and fail at it than not do it because I'm too afraid to try.
And I also think too, a lot of times, you know, when you live, you know, I remember one thing I always I use in my TEDx talk when I spoke to, when they asked John Lennon what he wanted to do when he grew up, and he said he wanted to be happy. And I think that that's so important because we lose touch with what makes us happy. And I think that everything to me grows from happy. Everything that will come to your life starts with happy. Like it really, really does. And it doesn't mean it has to be anything grandiose or anything big. It just everything comes from happy. And I think if we start to just break down everything in our lives to, you know, for me, it's like, you know, what it is that makes me happy. And then you'll see how it's just honestly amazing. It's almost, it raises your vibration. And then things start kind of entering your life almost kind of magically, right?
Well, we always say, oh, out of the blue, this just showed up. You actually manifested that because of the path that you're on and the choices that you've made and the decision that you made for your dream or for something that makes you happy. It's not out of the blue, and bad or good, right? It's shown up because you've manifested that. I believe that. I've lived it. I'm living it again. I've manifested a whole lot of things even recently, and I sit back and I'm still in awe of how this universe works. I really am.
Where did you, so I mean, I think you were on an interesting journey because, I mean, to have had, you know, the success you had, and then, you know, your career, you finished your career, and then you kind of went through a rebirth, I feel almost like you were trying to find what that second stage in life was. And I think that's no different than a lot of people. And having been around you, I saw some of those, you know, hills and valleys of you were going through. So what directed you to what you're doing now? And how did you know that was what felt right?
That's a really good question. So what happened for me was one of my dreams back when I was skating was to have a family. And so I found myself in that, living that, and I had 2 healthy children, and I was remarried and, you know, living my dream. And I always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I wanted to have enough financial stability from my professional career to be able to do that. So that was a goal I achieved, and keep that in mind. And then I started waking up feeling every day for like 3-4 years ago it started, and I was just like, I'm lacking something, and I thought I was getting depressed. I thought maybe something was wrong with me internally. And so what I had realized, and it wasn't anything necessarily wrong with me, but it was that I wasn't serving my greater purpose, or I didn't have necessarily that deeper meaning. And I didn't realize that I was living my life by default instead of design. My whole life has been based around designing. I knew where I was going, and it was all about persevering and like goal setting, and like, that's where I'm going. That's my destination, whether I win or not. And then all of a sudden I'm just kind of drifting around. I'm raising children, I'm loving things, but then I'm uncomfortable with certain things. And so it was like triggering me to, Jamie, like there's a purpose inside of you that's even greater than what you're doing right now. And I'm really glad that I listened to it, because obviously I'm sitting in the position I am now to help people in a bigger way. But in the beginning, when I was going through this process, I didn't know what I wanted to do, because I thought, well, you know, in my mind, I'm going, well, I used to make such great money, and what am I going to do to replace that? Like, I need to have that same income. And I had all these paradigms. And then I went, no, what would you love? So I wrote down help people. And that's all I wrote in my career, help people. And I had no idea what that looked like. And I thought, well, I'm working with Special Olympic athletes. Is that what it is? Okay, but that's kind of, it's not a full-time thing for me. So I went, no, there's more. And it was just weeks later when I was sitting at a vision workshop, and it literally was like fireworks inside of my body. I just got lit up, and I went, well, of course, this is what I'm going to do. I can be a speaker, teacher, and coach. I can take these tools, these life tools that I've got. I can get some more information based on books you and I have read, and certification that I got, and all this information, and help people in such a bigger way. And so that's why I decided to be, I call it a motivational coach, because I feel like everybody's a life coach today. And that's not a bad thing. There are a lot of people out there who've got a lot to give, and have great experiences and great tools. But just coming from my perspective and my life, and oh, hi, kitty cat. And yeah, and so I tell you what, like, I talk about doing what you love. Like, I'm thriving. I love my life every day right now. Yes, I have struggles. I did when I skated too, and I was living that life. There's always going to be a little struggle here and there, but it's not the struggle. It's what you do with that struggle. It's like, okay, well, this is just feedback for me, and it's a lesson. I've got a lesson in here that I'm learning. And I embrace that today because I've already been through it once. So I sit here and go, okay, what do I need to do differently, or what can I do today? And I have the tools to keep moving forward and doing what I love. And like you said, Mike, I am not attached to the outcome of this. You may not even know what that looks like right now. Like, maybe I am going to be Tony Robbins on a stage one day, maybe, you know, and I talk about dreaming. I just know that I want to, I just want to share. I want to help people with the tools that I have. And especially today, man, whew.
It reminds me of something that my coach used to say, my football coach. And he said that, you know, things, when you guys can collide, it's the same force and energy felt by both people, right? The only difference is one person decided to be the hammer, one person decided to be the nail, right? Sometimes you have two hammers and they're just sparks, right? So, but the things that happen in life, it's like, I hear people talk about the markets are down. Well, there are a lot of people who make a lot of money when the markets are down.
Yeah.
You know? So focusing on the truth of whatever the situation is how do I use this for me to be the hammer and not the nail? Because
I love that analogy.
The thing that I'm most upset about, someone else is dancing about, you know, the exact same thing. So it's all about perspective and focus, and what you focus on and what you think about, you bring about. So anytime anything bad happens, I stop, I pause, I wait, and I say, someone else is dancing about this situation right now. Where is it? What am I missing? And I just go searching for that.
Good job. Where your attention goes, energy flows.
Always.
Right. And so that's what we need to really focus on today. And yes, this is uncomfortable, but so is my training. Many days getting up at 5 a.m. was not comfortable for me. I am not a morning person. And doing a long program at 7 a.m. or 7:04, whatever time it was, David would look at me and go, let's do our run through right now. And I'm like, I want to vomit. And my body wasn't awake and my bones were hurting or whatever. And I was sore that day, and whatever it was, I was exhausted from not having a good sleep. There was so much that wasn't comfortable. And Helen, you've lived this too in sport. But it's like, get comfortable being uncomfortable and look at this opportunity right now, or this time as an opportunity, and go, what can I do right now with what I've got? That's it.
Yeah, I think the thing too, what's really important is, like, sometimes, because I know your story, it doesn't automatically come to you right away. And I think even your now what you're doing, it wasn't like it came like that. You tried a lot of different things. And I think even from my perspective, I've tried a lot of different things, and some things work and some things don't, but you still keep flowing. And I think the important thing, and I'd love people to hear this, because I know there's a lot of people that are in a position where you know, whether it's the midlife crisis or, you know, the same situation as you, Jamie, where you had some, you know, you had kids and then they've grown up and then you're like, well, what do I do now? And there's a lot of people that are looking for that. And I think the important thing that I love about your story, and you can share a little bit more, was it didn't come automatically. Where you are now was a journey as well, right? Like you had to, that was a journey.
Well, and I tell everybody, you're either pushed by pain until you're pulled by a vision. And that resonates with me. Like again, going back to my first success, you know, it was that I was more pulled by a vision back then. I wasn't in pain per se, but most of the clients that I work with are coming to me because they're stuck in ruts, or like we would say, they're in some kind of pain. They're in discomfort in some areas of their life. And so I say, right, you can be pushed by pain until you're pulled by a vision. As soon as you have a vision of what you would love or creating happiness for yourself, then it just gives you that direction. It gives you, for me, it just gave me goals. It gave me something to work towards. It made me feel accomplished. It made me proud. It made me feel like grander. I don't know, you whatever word you want to use, but you know, I thought I was living everything that I was supposed to live when I was a stay-at-home mom, and you know, I was experiencing a lot of wonderful things, but I was like, there's more in me, and there's more in me. And so tapping into that and listening, and you don't have to know what that looks like right now, but, or what it is right now. I didn't, but you got to start from something. You got to start somewhere. And even just, you know, Mike, you know this, writing down things is really important. I always say to people, like, your vision or your goals in your head are just a dream, right? But on paper, it becomes a plan, because from that point on, you start creating your path.
I think if you don't know what you want, I think you at least know what you want, how you want to feel. Well, right. So if it just at the very least, if you don't know what your passions are, if you don't know, because I know a lot of people like that who say, I don't even, you know, gardening is my passion, and, you know, beekeeping and all those, and this, I don't have one of those. I don't know what to do. I don't know what would make me happy. But I said, but you do know that how you want to feel. So
I had a client like this. I'm not a dreamer, he said. I said, okay. He was single, 43 years old at the time, single and not loving his job. There's all these conditions. And I said, would you like to have a partner in your life? Yeah, of course I'd like to be married to someone. Would you like to have a family one day, like children? Yep. Would you like to have more money in your bank account? And he goes, well, I'd like to win $1 million. I'm like, so you'd like more money in your bank account, right? Yes. I go, those are all dreams. So you are a dreamer. You're just not seeing it that way. So as soon as you take them out of the mindset of like, well, I don't dream, because dream sounds fluffy. Hey, Thomas Edison, Oprah Winfrey, Steven Spielberg, Walt Disney, everybody that we know that has had incredible success, and even just local people that you know that have had success, they were all dreamers. I mean, dreaming isn't fluffy. Dreaming is, we all dream. We dream at night, we dream during the day, but you got to get out of the mindset of, I don't do that. Those people that say they don't have passions, they do. There's some fear built up around these passions. I just talked to somebody recently that just said she has certain passions with animals. She's like, but I can't make money doing that. I'm like, that's the story you're telling yourself. What if you could? I said to her, what if you could? She's like, oh, like, anyway, it's a long discussion, but it's like, actually, it's not that long, but it's a discussion around possibility instead of, I can't do that.
Yeah.
What if you could? You know, and right, as soon as we change our thinking around that, and I said, Helen, that's back to doing what she loves and she'd be happy doing that. But she's got a paradigm around things. Well, I got to make the same amount of money like I did. Is that really what this is all about? Or is it really about doing what makes you happy?
And also having an idea of what you think that looks like, because I think when you let that go and don't have the idea like of what that looks like, it could present different opportunities to you. It might not be, let's say, you know, I remember somebody once saying, what happens to, let's say somebody wants to be a basketball player and play in the NBA and they're 5 foot, and so it's just not going to happen. Yep. But knowing I've been lucky enough to interview so many builders in sport and whatnot. And a lot of those builders came from those athletes that wanted to play their sport at the highest level, but couldn't, but then found something to do in their arena that was totally different than they would have imagined, but they were still following their love and their passion. And I even think from like my perspective, I remember my mom, when I was growing up, would always be like, when are you going to learn to cook and clean and be a good housewife instead of playing soccer? And I used to just say, it's going to find me. I would have never known that my direction would have gone into television, broadcasting, media. I would never have known that. I just kept following what I loved. What I loved was playing soccer. And when that was ending, opportunities presented themselves because I was in that place of what I loved. And I didn't know what would come of it. And I think that's a really important thing, is just for me, I'm always like, just, always do what you love, even in some small way, because things present themselves to you when you're in that energetic field.
I agree. And actually, it's funny that you mentioned the basketball thing, because that same client that I worked with that was 43, his dream was to be in Major League Baseball, but I can't do it. I'm 43. And I'm like, well, okay, yeah, you're not going to get drafted. But what is it about being a baseball player that lights you up? And he talked about all those things that would give him joy and make him happy. And that became his dream. I'm going to tell you today, it's a major win. He's living that. And this is 2 years later. And some of them he hasn't accomplished yet, but he's still in that process of like pushing through discomfort or pushing through certain things. But he's living a part of that dream already, because he took something that he thought of, like whether it's this big thing of like playing in a big league, to what is it about that I would love? What is it about that lights me up, right? And so it's exciting.
And I think when you focus on the truth rather than focusing on your fear.
Yes.
And the truth is that many people have done more with less. So whatever it is you're trying to do, whatever dark hole you think you're in, people have been in deeper holes and darker holes and have come out of those way faster. So when you look at that, that alone is focusing on something positive. Okay. The fact that other people have gone through this, they've made it out of it. And then I start looking for an answer. Who were those people? What did they do? When did that happen? Who made money in a down market? Right? Who lost all their money and made it back, or focusing on what would I have to do if I lost everything? And I haven't lost everything. That's just a fact. So it's just focusing on the truth. The truth is everything's going to be okay. The truth is it isn't as bad as you're making it out to be. Anything.
That's golden right there, Mike. Golden. Like, honestly, that we talk about truths and facts all the time in our lessons, because people sit there and go, wow, this is my truth. I'm like, actually, it's not the truth. You're very capable. And it's just a story that you tell yourself based on beliefs that you've created over your childhood life or even your adult life, right?
It's very subjective. The truth is subjective. So my truth is not your truth. It's just a thing that happened. What happens is how you deal with the thing that just happened. That's what dictates what happens next.
Yes.
And that's just the truth.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a quote from Wayne Dyer that I had up for many, many years. And it was, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Love that quote.
And I've lived experiences like that, where I had this idea, this perception of what had happened in my life. And when I switched it around and I instead of feeling like the victim, I decided to feel empowered. And I changed it. And, I won't go into details about it on here, but there's one specific example that I remember. I was so angry at someone and I thought it was all their fault and it was them. And then when I realized, well, they did the best they could with what they knew. Yeah. And I switched it, the entire energy of our relationship completely switched. And all that was me taking ownership and taking the power to say, you know what, I'm not a victim. I'm taking ownership of my life. And everybody does the best they can with what they know. If we actually looked at everybody in that situation and think, hey, people are just doing the best they can and nobody means to do this or nobody means to do that. Because now, as we're seeing, there's a lot of frustrations out there, but everybody's just doing the best they can. Like, we're all just doing the best that we can, trying to navigate these new waters.
Yeah, I'm noticing it here for sure. I mean, I feel like the frustration level's gone up quite a few octaves. I'm noticing it even on my walks. In the beginning, we were all getting out, you know, and everybody was still keeping their distance because it's like everybody's got cooties or something, but you know, we have to keep our distance. But people were saying hi and smiling, and some people even wanted to stop and chat from a distance. And now I've noticed, and it could have just been the day, but I'm also, you know, seeing a little on Facebook and seeing a little bit here and there. People are like, not as friendly, and they're not saying hi, and they're making judgment comments, and there's a lot of bitterness going on in dialogue. And I'm just like, whew, we need to sit back and take a breath right now. Like, yes, this is very uncomfortable, but like Mike said, we are going to get through this. And it's how do you want this to be for you? How do you want this to look for you down the road? And that is not an easy thing for a lot of people to do, because they're sitting here looking at you going, and Mike, this is a lot of what you said too. And I will have, I remember when I first got trained, our teacher mentor said to us, you're going to have clients that have great stories that you're going to sit there and believe them. Like you're going to go, ooh, that is bad. Like they're right. This is not possible, right? Because they're so strong and have conviction on their beliefs and their conditions that it's just never going to happen, right? But like to what Mike said, also is that there are people in worse conditions who have come out of it faster. But again, these people are choosing to put their energy or their focus in what's wrong and what's not happening and what's gonna happen compared to what is good right now and what could happen. And what if it all worked out? And what if, yes, I am, my bank account is not looking very good right now, but what if in a year from now it's tripled because of the way I'm thinking and the way I want to think? Again, just that we talk about mindset.
I love it. And I think I mean, there's a book I want to write based on a phrase my dad used to say. My dad used to tell me in French, he used to say, so what, right? So I would in French, it's et puis après, right? So he would always say, I would be crying or complaining about something and he'd say, so what? And I'd have to answer. And he'd keep going, so what? Until I got to the bare bones, which is so nothing. And it wasn't even so what, like who cares? It was so then what? So what does that mean?
Somebody that writes this right now, because my psychologist said that to my girlfriend.
Oh, nice.
So what?
Yeah. What does that mean?
She's super, my girlfriend is like very fussy with cleaning it. Like she's OCD. And so her therapist said, okay, so your kids have fingerprints all over the fridge right now. So what? The dishwasher wasn't loaded perfectly and that drives her crazy. And her therapist said, if you just stood back and went, so what? That's awesome. I love that. It's really helped her.
It's helped me. And it's, I mean, I'm fascinated with stories by stories from people who have almost died, but then claim that was the best thing that could have happened to them.
I say that in my lesson yesterday.
Oh, I love it. I love those stories. So someone who's climbing Everest, almost died, best thing that ever happened to me. Lost toes, fingers, limbs. Yep. A surfer who lost her arm, that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. And getting into the psychology of that. And again, putting them in the category of, hey, people have gone through way worse things than I have. I'm crying and complaining over not knowing what I want to do with my life, you know, the things that are, I mean, they're real, right? They're real to people, so I don't want to minimize them. Yeah. But it just is. It isn't good, it isn't bad, it just is. So what happens next is what matters most.
And how you address yourself mentally in what you're dealt with is so important. I think that it's also okay to feel crappy for a bit. Yeah. And it's also okay to let yourself, like, I think sometimes we're so hard on ourselves because we think, oh my God, I can't feel this. I think I've gotten to this place where it's okay if I have a day where I don't, and Mike and I have had this conversation before. Sometimes we're in these days where we're not feeling the best. And we always say, those are the days where you let yourself just feel it. And maybe work-wise, we don't do anything that is emotionally intense. Yeah. We do more of the basic stuff that needs to get done. But knowing that it's also good to just love yourself through those moments. I think that's such a huge thing in life, right? Like, it's okay. We're gonna feel moments of sadness. I've had it. Trust me.
Me too.
Yeah, moments of sadness. There's gonna be days where I'm gonna want to sit on the couch and just watch Netflix.
Yeah.
But there's also going to be days where I'm inspired to read something that gets me uplifted again. But I don't get mad at myself for feeling that, even if it's like, it's a workout day, but guess what? I don't feel like doing a workout today. So I don't. It's okay.
Yes. Yes.
Well, it's necessary. It's part of the process, right?
Yeah.
So in the same way that you need a crappy, rainy day to appreciate a beautiful day.
Yes.
So no one's going to be even keel, super positive all of the time, 100% of the time. It's impossible.
Well,
it's not going to happen.
Speaking of sunny days, I'm living in Edmonton because we're not getting the same weather as you guys. And we've had quite a few gray days lately, and I'm affected by gray. I need that extra vitamin D and I need the light I just need it. And it was that called SAD or something, seasonal disorder. And sunny today, and I'm lit up today. I'm like, what can I do? What can I do? And it's like super real for me, but I do appreciate these days because I go, whew, like we've been in the gray, right? So it's true. And all of a sudden it's a sunny day and I'm like, I wish today had 40 hours because I just want to do so much. But I do want to say to you, back to the what I said yesterday in my lesson, and what people can tap into, or not tap into, but they can go back and watch because it'll be up forever, is that those who navigate this terrain well say that it was the last thing I wanted, but the best thing that ever happened to me. Right?
Yeah.
And the key word there is the people who navigate the terrain well, because they decided to.
So take us through your program, because I think it's so timely, Jamie. I think it's perfect. Look, everybody on here that's listening, we will have it in our description. We'll make sure we add the link and whatnot to it, but give us a little bit more info on, what you've created.
Yeah. So it's a 4-week program, and I decided to put it out there for free for everybody because I really am finding ways right now. I'm encouraging everybody through my social media too, is giving back. And how can you give back? And whether it doesn't have to be money. We always think we got to donate money, but it can be your time. It can be your talents. It can be calling somebody, a senior in a senior's home that's lonely. Like, it can be anything. You just have to think outside the box. But for me, because I'm a coach, I thought I'm going to put out a program right now that can help people today navigate through this terrain, but also what an incredible tool or tools to have for other, what we call dark nights, like times where we're really challenged and we're really uncomfortable and we're stuck. And I've been there, so this is why it really resonated with me. So each week we're going to talk about something a little bit different, but it's basically just tools to navigate through, again, challenging times, whatever you want to call it. Hey, I have been through partner changes and 3 years of sitting in caca, not knowing where I was going in my next career, to living the best life ever and going to the Olympics and winning and getting married and having a baby, to a divorce, which I never thought I would be living that. Obviously, nobody ever does. To remarried and then challenges with blended families. Like, I'm living it. So I understand you can't tell me anything that I'm going to be shocked about, right? Like, there's nothing I've heard from anybody I know that is shocking to me, because I've lived a lot of life. 42 years old, and I don't know everything. I'm still learning, but I do know that that the challenges are real for people. But I just wanted to give something right now that would help people. And sorry, I'm just looking through my stuff right now because I wanted to give a little bit more insight as to exactly what they're going to be talking about. But I just encourage people to join in. It's a quick lesson. They're going to be 10 to 15 minutes long. And then there's some exercises at the end of each week. And then the following week, we're going to do a little bit of a summary of what we talked about last week. And then they get to listen to something new and some new tools.
And, I encourage everybody, when we just talked about the steps, where you don't know where you want to end up and you don't know what you want, but there are steps. Just take the first step. This is one of those first steps. This is one of those opportunities that comes along and people ignore it and they say, it's not for me, or what a good thing. But then they go back to their regular lives.
Yeah. It
costs nothing. Just do it and see where you end up at the end. There will be some revelations. Things will come up, and it's just never underestimate and undervalue something like this that comes along.
And why not? Right now, we're all sitting at home. There's some incredible stuff out there. Incredible things out there to be learning from. But again, I talked to this girl today, and she's got all these ideas. And I said, the reason why you're not grasping onto something and actually making a decision for it is because of fear. What if I don't finish it? What if I don't do well in it? What if it's this? What if it's that? It's all this fear based, right? Just sit back right now and ask yourself that now I feel is the perfect time to be visioning and growing and creating opportunity for yourself. I feel it's a great time to be doing that, right?
Perfect time.
Week 1 is the dark night. Week 2 is a hero's journey. Week 3 is harvesting the good. And week 4 is an opportunity for a new beginning.
Love it. Love it. I love the harvest.
Yeah. Like the farmer.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I think it's really great. And I think it would be great to share how just as we're kind of dwindling down and closing off shortly, how much this has changed your life, because I've seen you grow through it. I think that Jamie put on a seminar here in Guelph, and we've always been nervous speaking in public, right, Jamie? We've always had that conversation, and man, I tell you, your growth. So for people to see that it wasn't like it was instant and it happened all this, and you were just naturally there and it was perfect. It was work, and there were humps and there were, struggles. But how much you feel like you've grown through this process too.
This is no different. This journey I'm on right now has been no different than the one when I skated. And I still do. I have fear as a constant companion right now. I had fear putting up that lesson yesterday for everybody. A lot of fear. I had all kinds of talk in my head going, nobody's going to like this. Jamie, this is a waste of time. You're no good at this. So I call it the devil here and my angel here. And my angel learned to speak louder than my devil. The devil is just fear that's what I call it, right? It's just fear telling me that I'm on my growing edge. I use it as feedback. And so when I hear fear now speaking to me, I go back to when I skated. I had a lot of fear because I was constantly judged. It was about precision and perfection when I skated. And so now I've developed this fear based on I need to be perfect. And it has to be a certain way. It's got to be precision and perfect. I have all these stories in my head and I go, just do it. Just do it. Start today from where you're at with what you've got. And so I did. And yeah, I was really uncomfortable doing my first couple workshops, very uncomfortable. I was shaking. I had butterflies like crazy. I thought I was going to be terrible. And then when I finished, it was the same thing as when I went out and competed when I was a skater. And I was like, wow, that wasn't that bad. And then I just kept doing it. But it's all about facing fear and literally going, I hear you, but I'm doing it anyway. And so that's been my process now. And again, fear is not going away. In some ways, the more successful you get, the louder it talks, because it means now you're going to the next level. Now you're going up a level. Now you're going to move there. And now you're taking a real big risk, right? We've all heard that. Mike, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of something I was telling my son the other day. I said, a courageous person is not a person who's never scared. A courageous person is a person who's scared, but then does it anyways.
But does it anyway.
Right? So that's the definition of courage. And when you're on a football field, when you're on the soccer field, when you're on the ice, it's very clear. The goal is very clear. Mm-hmm. And you're on the ice, you're on the field. So you're forced to go through those steps. And the one thing I've learned, I think maybe we all have this in common, is you have to, and maybe all people who play sports, is you have to learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Because everything you want is on the other side of, sprinting as fast and as hard as you can, or, hitting as hard as you can, or falling on that ice over and over and over again until you don't. There's no way to do a triple axel, whatever those names are, there's no way. You have to fall to get, so everything you want is on the other side of that. So the fear to me is a good sign. I love it. When I'm afraid, I'm like, oh, I'm on the right path.
Good news. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm on the right path. And I have to just push through it.
Myself right now is that when I have fear speaking up, I'm like, good. It means I'm going in the right direction.
Yeah,
right?
It's a bridge. That's the bridge.
Yeah. It's bridging that gap and to where I want to go. And it's the tools that I took. And so I constantly, and I'm fortunate that I've got something to go back on of my career in skating and the feelings I had back then, right? And going, okay, what did I do then even, right? I have to remind myself, what did I do? Well, you keep going and you don't quit. I get asked that all the time. What is the difference between you who've been like, Jamie, you've been successful, and someone like me, and I'm still just like drifting around. I'm like quitting. Like, I wasn't the most talented figure skater. I just didn't quit. And I did everything I could to be the best I could be. I didn't just show up 3 times a week. I showed up every day. Some days sucked, terribly sucked. Like, I couldn't do anything. Some days I was hurt or like tired. My muscles were sore. Doesn't matter, but I still went to the rink every single day. And that's what matters the most. So as an individual person right now, Mike, it's not just athletes that this is for, it's people in general. How are you showing up? Ask yourself, just wake up every day and go, how do I want to show up today? Right?
Yeah. And being able to earn those reps and go through those reps.
Well, the 10,000 hour rule, right?
Yeah, you got to do it. You got to do it.
It's true. If you actually look at,
only build muscle on the 11th and 12th rep, right?
Yeah.
So,
I think it's so important. I think you're right too. Like, it's such a, if we look at this opportunity as an opportunity to really take this time to learn, to grow, to get inspired, to, you know, for me personally, you know, I'm not watching the news. I'm figuring out ways I can be a better person.
Yeah.
And so for me, it becomes about growth and about trying to inspire myself by reading great books, and still reading this one, by the way.
Oh, such a great book. Such a great book.
Great book.
Yeah.
So, and I'll take Jamie's course too, because I think it's important. And I think it's really good for people to have these opportunities. Where have we had so many opportunities like the one you're offering ever for free? Like, it's honestly amazing.
You know what? There is no excuse today. There have never been so many courses and help and support out there than there is today. And to me, and I'm sorry if people don't like hearing this, but if you aren't tapping into something, that's just laziness. I'm going to call it, because there is a million things out there for people to use and to get support. And it's not about money. Everybody's offering things for free right now. Everywhere I've gone, I'm just like, holy, and laziness based on, obviously, Mike, again, that fear, but I don't want to be better. I don't want to do that. It's not going to help. Well, then
it's not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt either.
Not going to hurt.
No.
But
and it's true, because I also think too, you have to try certain things to see if they resonate with you. Because if there's anything that we've learned is sometimes something works and resonates and goes light bulb. And sometimes we're like, well, that wasn't really for me, but you have to taste it to know if you like it. And why not try whatever's out there, all the different options, even if it's a yoga class, a Tabata class, a Pilates class, inspirational course. Try different things, because you never know what will pull you towards it. That's the beauty of life. There's so many options out there, and you never know what you're going to love. That's the whole beauty of not knowing.
Yes, but before all of this, you had to pay for all that, and you had to go and search for it, like way harder in some ways. And I just feel like everywhere I turn right now, it's like everybody's giving, and I just love it. Yeah, I'm so grateful. And so that's what I say. It's kind of like a laziness if we're just gonna sit back and go, nah, right? There's so much out there. Grab onto something and like look around.
Yeah, we're very
lucky. Out there for everybody.
There are no excuses now. I think we've been locked down for a month now. There's another month to go here in Ontario, at least. And in that time, you know, I could have learned a new language. You know, I could have mastered my finances. I'm really good at making money, but I don't do anything.
Money a lot. I think we got to talk about money next time.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, you know, makes the world go round. It's important. It's here. It's a fact of life, right? And I'm good at making it, but not necessarily. I don't know anything about the stock market or investing it, right? So it's for the first time. It's funny because the last time this major thing happened in 2008, I'm like, you know, we were down in the dumps. We didn't have any money to put into the market after they had dropped and gone low. So finally now we're in a position, okay, the markets are low, we can invest, but I'm learning, because I don't know anything about the stock market. But in that time, I could have spent that time being ready for when this moment came.
I know.
Instead, I'm trying to fast track it now, but you know, so it goes.
Yeah, learn the lesson. Hey, Amazon's up, Zoom is up.
A lot of people are winning. A lot of people, and pay attention to those. Why are they winning? How are they winning? How can your business pivot? I see a lot of small businesses. Actually, this is really good for me because I see a lot of small businesses, which is where my heart lies. I own a marketing company, obviously, and seeing bricks and mortar transform and doing the curbside pickups and doing the online order. It's sad that it took something this drastic to force them to do it where they had no choice. And I just hope that they don't stop it later just because it may not be working as well, or they may not be making the same revenue, because when things go back to normal, that side revenue that you're making will be a very good add-on, right?
What is going to be our normal?
Right?
We don't know.
Well, the normal is, the normal is what we decide it's going to be, our new behaviors. There are new behaviors. So in any business, you look at marketing, you say, what are people doing right now? And people are being trained. I have packages just before, I always, every time we have a live, I'm worried because I know the door is going to knock and the dogs are going to go crazy. and it happened literally 2 minutes before the live. And I've never ordered so many things online. I ordered socks online. My wife ordered tweezers online. Like, it's just, but that's a good thing for certain businesses. And it's a good thing for local businesses as well. So bricks and mortar could turn into clicks and mortar. Anyways, I could go on all day about marketing and those kinds of things, but opportunities everywhere. So whatever's happening, it just is.
I also want to go back to when you said that you have some friends that go, I don't know what I'm passionate about. So the thing that and I know I'm going way back here, but I want to just finish with that the most important thing I believe to ask is just to say to yourself, what do I know? Right? Because you sit there in a lot of confusion about like happiness and whatever. But if you actually ask those friends of yours, well, what makes you happy? Well, this, and this. It's going back to, again, asking that person that was dreaming about being a baseball player, what makes you happy about thinking about being that player? Just tell me what you do know, because we know a lot of things we don't want, right? Well, I don't want that, I know I don't want, but what do you know?
We're not used to asking us. It's funny because I know when I've had friends and they're in a bad place, and I'll ask them that question, like what is it that makes you happy? And it's unfortunate we've lost touch with that, but this is a great time right now to really tap into, in our limited ways that we are living right now. But what is it that makes you happy? Is it walking? Is it playing with your cats for me, or reading a book? But I think I always say everything starts with happy. And if it means that you really, and I remember when I had to ask myself that question, when I went through my dark period, and I had to ask myself that question, it was in the book, ask, what is it, do one thing that makes you happy. And I remember sitting in that question for quite some time, because it's sad that I didn't know what made me happy. I had to break it down. And for me, I broke it down to, well, what makes me happy? And I always loved playing sports. So I knew I hadn't played sports for a long time. So I started with just playing sport, getting back into sport and, being active with people and being in that community. And it's amazing because that one decision to start playing sport again after 7 years of not playing sport changed the trajectory of my life. Believe it or not, one decision to join a volleyball league that I had to research and was uncomfortable. Let me tell you, uncomfortable. Ooh, I don't know anybody that plays. Ooh, I'm joining a league I don't know. But I'm like, but I knew playing sport made me happy, even though it made me so uncomfortable making that decision to go play, because it was new and it was different and I wasn't used to it. I remember my first day where I got into the league and I was like, oh, this is so awkward. I don't know anybody. But everybody that, is in my circle now, they'll know 90% of the people I hang out with and I do things with and I go for dinners with are my volleyball friends. They literally became such a central part of my life. So you see how one decision to do one thing that made me happy literally changed the trajectory of my life and impacted me in other ways that I think I can't put definitive answers on, but just in how it expanded me and how it raised my energy and my vibration.
Comfort is the enemy of progress.
Comfort kills. Comfort is a silent killer, kills more people than anything.
I'm not saying that there weren't times in my life where I was comfortable and I was enjoying that. It doesn't have to always be painful or like, oh my gosh, this is so bad, or like uncomfortable. But it's like there's a lot of the process. Like I think about, again, going back to skating, and what was uncomfortable for me was getting up at 5 a.m. to be on the ice early, doing full run-throughs. The Russians never did full run-throughs. They didn't. And they used to look at us, go, why are you wasting your time and your energy? And we're like, because that's what we need to do to be our best. That was uncomfortable doing full run throughs, being in that kind of shape, top shape, elite athlete. That was uncomfortable some days, like the training after like off ice training. There was a lot of elements of my training that was uncomfortable, but there was also some of it that I really loved. Right. And so I think about that now moving through my next journey, is that there's going to be times where, like yesterday, where I'm sweating, profusely sweating, because I want to put something out for free to people, to help people. But I'm like, I've got all these thoughts in my mind. What if people don't like it, or it's not good enough or whatever, but I just did it anyway.
Yeah, I think too, sometimes we're inspired by pain, like you said. Like sometimes it's those moments that make us change, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But I also think we have, as I've grown, hopefully I'm learning that I don't need to be in the shitter to learn to get better.
No, you don't.
I remember when I'd go through a bad time, I'd read my spiritual books and listen to my spiritual audio and do things that made me feel better. Now I just do those things all the time, period, because that's just part of my lifestyle. I know it makes me feel better. But like you said, there's always going to be uncomfortable moments. You can ask Mike and I about the Guelph Games and how many uncomfortable moments came with, how is this going to turn out? Is this going to work? But the one thing that we talked on before that I'm going to bring up here is the feeling part. And we interviewed Vicki Keith on Sunday, and I loved how Vicki said she didn't visualize per se, but she felt the feeling. And sometimes you just feel the feeling of what you want it to be and get in that vibration and happen. And I think that was a really cool thing that she brought up, that I didn't ever hear it. I never heard anybody say it the way she said it.
Yeah.
And I really loved how she said it.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing as asking someone that says, I can't be in the Major League Baseball or in Major League Baseball. And as soon as you say to them, but what is it about that you would love? And the person's eyes he was like, well, and then he just kind of got excited. And it was like, well, clearly, just even thinking about it and getting himself in that mode or that thought process of being a player in baseball just lit him up. Right. So it's that feeling, that sensation of feeling it. So as soon as you say to somebody, what if it was possible? What would it feel like? What would it taste like? What would it look like?
Yeah.
Sensorizing it. You have to sensorize it. And it is real. And we all have done it to get success. We've all done that.
It's the cheat code. It's the one thing I will tell anyone, that, how you feel and where you are always a match.
Yeah.
Right. If you're scared about money, then you've got bad money problems, and that could be the same if you have $10 in the bank or 10 million, because there are people who have 10 million or 10 billion who are super scared all the time.
Yep.
And so focusing on how you feel and switching that from negative to positive, and focusing on what's good about the situation and what could be good about the situation if things were good about the situation. It's the cheat code. It's the one thing I think if anyone takes anything away from this talk,
totally.
It's the feeling, not just the want. The goals are great. The goals are great. But it's the feeling over just the goals.
And there's another quote I remember hearing that goes along with this. And I'll never forget it. You'll never surpass your self-image. You'll never surpass your self-image. And I think that takes it back to, and at the core, because you can say affirmations or whatnot, or try to convince yourself of things, but at the core, what is it you're feeling at the core, and how do you work on that?
Yeah, well, I always go back to, and this is real for me, and I don't know if you guys agree with this, but for me, this is very real. And I use this regularly, even for myself, is like, your feelings are coming from your thoughts. Like mine are. And I'm like, I observe what I'm thinking at that time that's creating that feeling, right? Because your thoughts cause your feelings cause your actions, and your actions cause your results. We call this the results formula. And I often look at the way I'm feeling sometimes, and it's always coming from a fear-based thought that I've got. Or if I'm having a wonderful feeling, it's because I'm thinking of great things. I'm thinking about opportunities and the things that could be fun that come from something. So for me, my feelings are coming from the thoughts that I'm having about something, bad or good.
Yeah, love it. Everybody, get on it. Watch Jamie's video. We will
Come join me. We got 3 more weeks. We can do this. I mean, 3 more weeks of lessons, but why not learn some tools and use what you want, take what you want. I love feedback, so I appreciate that very much.
Love it. Thank you. This was a impromptu conversation with the amazing Jamie Saleh, so we appreciate that so much.
Love you, Jamie.
Having me on again.
But so timely and so perfect. Like she said, your program is 4 weeks, and it's timely because we are still in lockdown here in Ontario, at least for 4 more weeks. So it's good timing. Get on, do the lesson this week. I'm going to do it as well. And I encourage everybody else. We will post it on our page so that everybody can see it and join in and awesome. Be part of transforming your life.
Yeah. And I also said in there that, I'm really open right now to feedback, but also helping people. If you have any questions or you want to take it further, then I'm available. My email's there. And of course I'm on every social media there is, I think almost. So find me. Yep. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. And
everyone else, we'll see you next week.